Audio Jungle.
The third team that we're going to be breaking down is for the 2024 season, give our prediction on, is the Chicago Bears. I personally did a video on the Chicago Bears right after the draft because I was super fired up about what they did and kind of seeing everything unfold for the city of Chicago. I didn't realize how big of an impact it was at the time, like before the draft, but as soon as the draft was over, it was like, holy shit, these guys actually have a quarterback.
Yeah, the Bears always have felt like a team that people are just like, it's just like one of those NFL teams that like people want to get good again because it's good for the sport.
Definitely.
And they're finally at a point where it looks like they're going to be good.
Let's hope, because
Yeah.
what, they haven't had a quarterback throw for 5,000 yards. They haven't had a quarterback have 30 touchdowns in a season, like
Ever.
They've just had bad offenses across the board. So I think, like, as a fan, at some point, you're like, please, for the love of God, can we please have a good offense?
Yeah. And it fell right into their hand having the 1st and 9th pick in the draft. That certainly helps.
Definitely. Before we get into all that, 2023 results: 7-10, third in the NFC North. Home record 6-2, away record 1-7. One thing that I pointed out to me, like, heavy, like right when I was looking at this, they had 0 wins against playoff teams last year. So along with not having any playoff wins, wins against playoff teams last year, their away record was so bad. They just couldn't win on the road, it looked like.
Yeah, that's not great. You got to be able to win at least 3 games on the road, I would say.
Which is it's just weird. Like, that variance though, like 6-2 at home, 1-7 on the road, like that's such a crazy variance. I feel like
it's tough to play there though once it gets really cold, and if you're used to it, then it's an advantage. I mean, we literally just saw that with the Chiefs and the Dolphins. Like the Dolphins could not move.
No, you make a good point, and they wrung out all like wins at home. Like at the end, they like wrung out all of them in a row. So yeah, I mean, like maybe you're right.
And I think they finally got that defense in tune, and they got probably their second best player on defense.
No, definitely. So, like I said, key wins, didn't really see anything key overall, like in general, no wins against playoff teams. It's probably a red flag. Key losses.
Wasn't last year when they beat Detroit?
Yeah. I guess that's a key win. Yeah.
That's a notable win.
That's a notable win. I mean, they almost beat Detroit twice, if we're going to be honest, but Detroit willed their way back into a game, and it was insane. It was like a crazy comeback. So yeah, key win Detroit, my bad. So key departures on this roster. I would like to hear what you had to say, because when I was looking over this, I just didn't see many, like, anything that like stuck out to me or mattered to me like that much.
Yeah, I'm honestly right there with you. I had 2 guys as their key losses, and they filled both of those. They pretty much filled every loss with a better player. So like, I don't really even know how significant of a loss either one of these 2 guys is going to be. I had all I had was Justin Fields and Darnell Mooney as the two losses.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I had too. But I mean, you got Caleb Williams and Rome Odunze, so like
Keenan Allen, like two guys that are probably going to be better than Darnell Mooney.
So I think me and you were probably on the same page. Then key losses. Honestly, their losses were almost like a positive for him, it seems like.
Yeah. I think so.
So key additions to this team, the 2024 offseason, they were, you might, if I miss anybody, please feel free to bump in. Like you said, you traded Fields. You hire Shane Waldron, the guy who kind of got coined in Seattle as the guy who fixed Geno Smith. You add DeAndre Swift, running back from the Eagles, who had a decent season last year. Noah's higher on him than I am. You add Kevin Byard, who I think is definitely past his prime, but he is a veteran guy who's played in a ton of big games, who has been an all-pro. So maybe he can turn back the clock a little bit and make a big impact. I love this guy, so sorry for bringing him up, but Gerald Everett's like my favorite tight end for some reason. And I think he's a good second option behind Cole Kmet, who's a good after the catch tight end who can like play honestly at times as like a slot receiver at points. So I really like Gerald Everett.
It felt like there was a lot of times that just like more so from not Gerald Everett, I'll get to him in a second, but it felt like Cole Kmet was like actually the wide receiver 2 on the Bears last year. It was DJ Moore, and then it felt like every other time I was watching them, the ball was going to Cole Kmet. Definitely. But I had Gerald Everett as well. I felt like every time I watched the Chargers, since Keenan Allen wasn't there, I feel like Gerald Everett got a lot of targets, and he made the most out of them, at least from what I can remember. So like,
he's good.
I really like adding him to that tight end room.
Yeah, he's good after the catch. And then Coleman Shelton center. And then the big one that I love, and I'm sure that you do too. Like, I know Keenan Allen's old, but he played at such a high level last season. You trade a 4th round pick for 1 year of Keenan Allen. I love that. I love kind of how they set it up, because you get him for 1 year, but then you draft Rome Odunze at number 9, and that gives him an opportunity to like be a mentor for all of these guys, for DJ Moore and for Rome Odunze. I mean, Keenan Allen's been in the league for a really long time and has played at a high level forever. So I think he does make an impact, and he's got the surest hands in the NFL probably. And then obviously, last but not least, and I don't know if you have anything else, but you draft Caleb Williams, who's legitimately the best quarterback prospect since Andrew Luck, and probably better than Andrew Luck.
Yeah, other than that, I had them re-signing Jalen Johnson, and then just like bringing in Montez Sweat at the trade deadline last year.
Yeah, you add Montez Sweat at the trade deadline, and you could tell that really shored up the defensive line and gave them somebody to do it. I mean, he's a dog. And then
he's a monster. He was the better one out of those 2 guys in Washington, and the Bears made the right decision.
Yeah, and Chase Young, obviously, like, we see where he's at now. He just hasn't been the same since after that injury. So, was it? Oh, and then Jalen Johnson. Jalen Johnson's like kind of like a slept on corner. Like, everybody who like really like knows ball and like talks about corners and shit like that are always like, Jalen Johnson's like one of the best corners in the NFL.
Yeah, I think this season we're actually going to see, I think it'll come to light more just how good he is. Like, we obviously knew because we would pay attention, but like, if somebody's not tuned in, you probably wouldn't really know, but that guy has been very, very good.
Definitely. Okay, so we went over the key losses and key additions. Weaknesses on this team. I think it's fair to say that Eberflus is a weakness on this team. I mean, we haven't seen a guy who has started off as poorly as he had in his career, like, kind of ever turn it around, like, from a win-loss perspective. Is he able to do it? Like, or I think he can, because this roster is so loaded. But I think that it's a fair criticism to call him like a weakness as of right now until he proves us otherwise.
I mean, he did have that defense dialed in at the end of that like towards the end of the season. So like, maybe that makes him look even better in this upcoming season, since he can probably focus on that side of the football a little bit more, and then let Shane Waldron kind of do his thing on offense. So I think definitely also a minus if we're going between plus minus as far as him as a head coach overall right now. But I do think he started to do some really good things with that defensive unit the second half of that season. And that could have been because of Montez Sweat, but like, you still have to get your guys in the right spots.
Also, on top of that, like, to still have the locker room bought in after such a rough start of the year, like,
crazy.
I think that means something. I don't know what it means, but it has to mean something. I mean, it seems like he's got the respect of everybody, at least.
Yeah, I agree with that. And like, after the whole Justin Fields kind of like situation too, like, there was guys that were vocal about wanting to keep Justin Fields, and
definitely
him being able to kind of keep everything together and not let it get too chaotic during that time. And then they obviously go and take Caleb Williams, and I think we're going to see that locker room not necessarily like shit on Justin Fields or anything like that, but probably buy into Caleb Williams once they see him out there.
I completely agree with you. So next, what makes them special? I feel like this is a hard question to ask, honestly, because we honestly don't really know at this point. But if I were to have like an early hitch on this entire situation, I think that their offense has an opportunity to be extremely special this upcoming season.
Yeah, they are deep at. I think their other running back was Tariq Cohen, if I remember correctly. Maybe that's like the only other thing that they wouldn't hurt is getting another running back. But other than that, like I really like their wide receivers. I really like their tight ends. Obviously, like Caleb Williams.
Their running back room is DeAndre Swift, Roschon Johnson, Khalil Herbert, and Travis Homer. I mean, that's a damn good running back room. I mean, I think
Tariq Cohen.
They took Roschon Johnson from Texas last year, and Khalil Herbert was legitimately their number one running back last season.
Am I being lied to?
I don't know, but I think that's a super tough running back room.
All right, well, yeah, that completely changes. I guess I got looked at the wrong thing. Yeah, I like that running back room actually. So yeah, I think I have this written down. I don't think Caleb Williams needs to try and go out there and be a superhero week in and week out. I think that he just needs to go and be a distributor, get these guys the football. He has a lot of talent around him, probably the best setup that we've seen a number one rookie quarterback come into in a while. He doesn't need to try and do everything. Just get your guys the football. You have some really, really good players on your team. Don't try to do too much, at least to start, at least once you kind of get the swing of the NFL and the speed and whatnot. But I really like this offense on paper.
I don't think that is going to be an issue. I know that it's a fair critique, but I don't think it's going to be a big issue because in college, that team that he played with last season, that's what everybody remembers. Everybody doesn't remember the other. I said this in my other video. He was the product of being in college for entirely too long. Like if he left,
he had to do that. He had to do that for that team to win, and he doesn't need to do that now. And I just hope that's what he realizes.
Yeah, definitely. So I think it's a fair critique, but I think that he's dialed in, and I don't foresee that being an issue. So to round this out, 2024 prediction. You go first on this one.
Okay. So I like I said, I'm just going to give you what I think as far as the season goes. Like the regular season. I'm not quite like there's been a couple people that have been going around that pop up on like ESPN or on Twitter or whatnot, and they'll be like, "Oh, I think the Bears can make it to the NFC Championship," and I'm not going to go that far, but like I'm kind of thinking about last year and how we saw CJ Stroud lead that Texans team. I don't know. I'm not ready to go to that point yet with Caleb Williams and the Bears, but I do have them going 10-7 on the season.
So it sounds like you have them making the playoffs.
Yeah, I think they make the playoffs, but I'm not sure how far into it they're going to go.
So who do you? So I have down written here as well. I have 10 wins, second in the division. I think the Packers are the best team in that division by far. We'll get into the Packers when we preview them, but as of right now, like I think it's going to be Packers, Green Bay Packers, Chicago Bears, and then Detroit Lions finish third. And I think Detroit takes a step back, and like I said, we'll get into that whenever we preview them as well. So it sounds like you might kind of be on the similar thinking that I am.
Yeah, and this is kind of wild because so far the three teams that we've covered were like literally in lockstep, basically.
Yeah,
with how we feel, and we didn't even really go over any of this prior. So for us to pretty much be at 10, both of us have 10-7. I think that I don't know if that's good or bad. We could be way off, but I think 10-7 is very reasonable. Like this offense was so bad last year, another really bad offense, and they upgraded every position, and they still won 7 games. Like I can't see them not winning 3 more games.
No,
especially because they have the third easiest schedule too.
Yeah, I'm completely with you on that. And I think this division is tough.
Yelling.
I think the Vikings are they're a throwaway. I think they're going to be terrible this season.
Yeah, and that's not fair to sit here and act like they're going to be good. Their quarterback situation's not great, but either way.
And then just Detroit, I don't know. I think last year was their opportunity to do it. Every other team got better in this division. We'll obviously watch it play out, but yeah, I'm right there with you. I think Chicago finishes 10-7. Makes the playoffs.
Wow. Yeah, that's where I have them too. I'm not going to sit here, like I said, and have them go into the NFC Championship, but like, I think they're in a great spot. I have a couple keys to success as far as like what I think they really need to lock in on.
Sure.
They already did this. They already put a good group of guys around their rookie quarterback, and having a good defense, especially as a rookie quarterback, really helps. So pretty much just lean on them if you need to. I think we're going to see some really good plays made from Caleb Williams. I think we're going to see some dumb plays probably, but that's just part of being a rookie. And if you can go out there and kind of grow and figure things out as you're playing week to week, and you can rely on your defense, that also instills a different level of confidence into you as a rookie quarterback. So I think that's really important. Leaning on that defense. I touched on this earlier. Don't ask Caleb Williams to be a superhero. I would say he really just needs to be a distributor 85% of the time, and the other 15 is when he'll really have to try and really go out there and make a play. I think they just have so much talent on that offense that he'll be fine just getting the ball in those guys' hands 85% of the time, and then he can take out the cape the other 15%.
I know. I'm with you. I think he is. I think he's that special that he's able to do it. I mean, we'll watch it play out, obviously, but I do think that Caleb Williams is special enough to make plays like the ones that you're talking about. Like, I think he can pull out the cape if he needs to.
Yeah, and then my last thing on here was this one kind of stood out to me. They were 26th in QB sack percentage with 8.8%. That is kind of concerning with Justin Fields as your quarterback, who's a guy that's super mobile. I
look at that stat completely different.
You look at it as like he holds the ball too long.
Justin Fields had an issue.
That's fair.
Yeah, Justin Fields had an issue with sacks where he was holding the ball for extremely long, wasn't getting the ball out on time, like ever.
Fair.
So I think that's a misleading stat, honestly.
That's fair. But it is what it is, and that number needs to go down. You can't have your quarterback, and it is on both offense and quarterback, depending on the play. But you just need to keep your guy clean
for sure. So sounds like we both have the Bears to make the playoffs at 10 wins. So hopefully me and Noah have differing opinions at some point, but it sounds like me and him are on the same page about the Bears, and I'm excited to watch the Bears this season. I don't know if you are.
Yeah, I definitely am. I need to figure out, I mean, I might have to have 12 TVs rolling at one time.
That's what I do.
During the football season. I'll have my laptop, I'll have the TV, I'll have the other TV, and I'll have my iPad. But
that's what I do, brothers. Welcome to the show.
Guys that I know I did it last year, but I feel like this year there's even more guys that I want to watch play.
No, you're right.
As opposed to like last year. And plus last year I felt like there was so much like shake up at the quarterback position. Like so many guys kind of got hurt, and we saw so many backups play that
I hope it's like that again.
I don't hope it's like that again. I want the best versus the best.
Yeah, I'm right with you. I'm right with you. So hey, third team that we did, Chicago Bears. Can't wait to do more. I think we're